Hello, my loves. It's me, Jody Ann. I'm here in your earbuds again. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to hear you. I don't know what to say there. It's just good to be here. We are doing things a little out of order. Typically, this would be the Empress, and I would talk about that tarot card. But because we have eclipses coming up, I wanted to get this one out to prepare you for the eclipse season. So here we go. We are going to chat this witching half hour or so about eclipses. This episode is going to drop in April. And at the end of this month, on April 30th, 2022, we are going to be having a solar eclipse. Now, I don't think it's actually visible from North America. I'm in North America, and I didn't look up if it's actually visible. Following that, like 15 short days later, we're going to have a lunar eclipse. A lot of times we call this eclipse season. In around May to June, every year we usually have an eclipse season where you'll get multiple eclipses in a row. Last year, I think there was 3. This year so far, I think there's just 2 back to back in this eclipse season. This is a very powerful, energetic, metaphysical event. A lot of times when we talk about it, we talk about these being the closest celestial bodies to the Earth. Now, in reality, we know this is not actually true, right? The sun is quite a ways away from us. It's pretty far. However, emotionally and energetically, the sun is close to us. It is what makes life possible on this planet. It is how we have defined day and night. It's a huge emotional component to what it is to be a human being or any kind of biological being on this planet. Life evolved around the sun, right? And whether or not we can photosynthesize or eat food or blah, blah, blah. So for the energetic purposes, the sun is our closest celestial body, even though it's really not in real physics and measuring ability. The moon is our closest celestial body. It's really actually the closest one to us, and it affects our water, our tides, our emotions, all kinds of things. So the very 2 most important celestial bodies are lining up. Now, if you know your astrology, I think is it a conjunction? Let me look that up. Hang on. Okay, forget what it's called astrologically. I can't find it, and I went down a huge rabbit hole. So safe to say that when we are in an eclipse, the sun and moon and earth are all in a line, right? And it's the shadow of one celestial body on another that creates this occlusion. So a few things we want to look at is that the power of an eclipse it's a natural phenomenon. So it's an energy that we are supposed to be working with the same way that a retrograde is a natural phenomenon, and it's an energy we want to work with. We want to be aware of these things. Now, it's a very powerful energy, and it builds. It builds up a couple months before, and they say it takes a couple months to like settle in. Whatever was highlighted or whatever peak thing comes up for you in the energy of the eclipse, it's usually something that's been building beforehand and will take some time to come to complete fruition or complete alignment within you. It's an intense thing. Now, one of the hints of what is building is we want to look at what sign each of these planets is in, right? Typically they're in the same sign, right? For a solar eclipse, they're in the same sign because the moon is passing directly in front of the sun, creating that shadowed effect, right? That they're lined right up. So they're in the same sign. So you're going to have aspects of that sign and how you relate to that sign start highlighting themselves in your life. So we know this is going to be heavy energy, right? Because the sun and the moon are in the same astrological house. We feel this with the power of a new moon, the power of a dark moon. We have that sun and that moon in the same house of astrology, in the same sign of astrology. Now, when they are in direct alignment, that boosts that energy up quite a bit. It really highlights that stuff. And there are 12 different flavors that eclipse can take on, right? Our eclipse of our solar eclipse, and I don't know, loves, I don't know if it is visible from North America. I don't think it is. It's been a while since we've had one visible from North America. But anyways, so that eclipse, that energy, that shadowing of the sun is going to be happening in the sign of Taurus, right? April 30th, the sun is in Taurus, right? So all those Taurian, Venus-driven ideals and ideations that we have are going to be like peaking in our energetic field. It's going to be really important for us to look at the way we relate to that Venusian energy, right? And not her beautiful, lovey side that we're typically, out with our friends, in the social spaces, loving good food and good pleasure. We need to look at the shadow aspects of those. That's what this energy is going to highlight for us. And we're going to be seeing that building all through April and maybe even a little bit through March. Now, it's been a really big Venus year. Venus was retrograde at the beginning of this year, right? That was intense. I don't know about you guys, but I had a lot of relationship stuff come up to be healed, to be looked at. I had relationships and it was nuts. And so we want to look at how this energy is going to be highlighted in our life. We want to prepare ourselves for this. We want to prepare ourselves for this. We have a heads up. If you guys listened to my episode with Lizina, she was saying, everyone says that there's no handbook for humanity. There's no user manual. And she's like, yes, it is, babies. It's your birth chart. Go look at your birth chart. Have a look at where your Venus is. Have a look at what aspects of that are difficult for you in this incarnation. This eclipse is probably going to shake those up a little bit for you, right? So what are some of the shadow aspects of Venus? Well, it can be the way you relate to pleasure. Do you allow yourself pleasurable things? Are you giving yourself permission for pleasure? It can be the way you relate to money and comfort and security. A shadow aspect with that would be overspending. When you feel insecure, are you shopping? Are you in Amazon clicking away? It's the way we relate or don't relate to people. Do we keep people at arm's length? Do we shut people out? Do we deny ourselves support? How are these coming up in your life right now? How are these aspects playing out in your relationships with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers, with yourself? How are these coming up? Because they will be highlighted on this solar eclipse. Now, the funnest part, get this, my loves. So then we head into the lunar eclipse 15 days later, and guess where it's happening? That's right, the sun is still in Taurus because it doesn't switch until May 21st, right? So it's still in that Taurus space, and it's shining and occluding the moon, which is in Scorpio, the opposite sign, right? Because they are on opposing signs of the zodiac. So we are going to see the flip side of those Venusian energies, and we're going to see our Scorpion aspects come up as well, right? So in our zodiac wheel, right, the complementary sign is across from you, right? Like I'm an Aries and my complementing sign is a Libra. For every bit of spontaneous leap before I look, fiery, erratic energy I have, the Libra has that steadfast, don't rock the boat, logical approach for things. We beautifully complement each other. We are like a puzzle piece, right? It's why some of my bestie people have been Libras in my life. She knows who she is. She's listening to this. The counterpart of those pieces that come up for you in your Taurian shadow are also going to kind of flip-flop for you over in May. And remember, it's going to take like 3 months for all of this energy to actually finish what it's doing. Now, I've often read 3 months, and to me that's a bit crazy because we have an eclipse about every 6 months. So in my head, that would mean like for 6 months, I'm working on this thing, and it could be, but I like to think about it as the peak of the project and then about a month on either side, right? Because you're really going to feel that build in that first month up, and you're really going to feel that kind of, how do I want to say that word? When your lesson kind of zhuzhes into your field. So you're really going to feel that understanding and the settling of the energy for about a month after. Let's look at Scorpio, shall we? Now, for all you beautiful little Scorpios out there, I don't find you scary. I don't cringe when I hear that you're a Scorpio. There's some really intense and powerful energy around Scorpios and around the whole idea of Scorpio. Now, I usually use Pluto as Scorpio's ruling planet. There is some people out there who say it is dually ruled by Scorpio and Mars because it was assigned Mars before we knew Pluto existed. The moody, emotional elements of Scorpio, to me, put it with Pluto. And I say moody with love, really with love, because it's the Scorpio aspects that get us to dive, those Pluto aspects that get us to dive deep in our emotions, looking at our wounds, looking at our pain, looking at the real deep lessons in life that we're here to do and undo. So pretty intense for a eclipse, hey? Those shadow aspects of our moodiness. Also, because you're directly opposite those Taurian effects, right? So if you already have this Venetian thing going on where you like to overindulge and then you add that sultry, watery Scorpio vibe in there, I mean, there could be some serious tumultuous heartbreaking going on, right? So have a look at that. Where does Scorpio fall for you? What does your Pluto mean in your birth chart? Where are these things coming up? What kind of Pluto themed things have you been working on? Are you in a place where you're looking at healing deep wounds? Well, if you are, be super loving to yourself this whole May season, because you're going to need that super extra comfort and that super extra love. If you are a person who, you tend to get a little bit revengeful in the way you deal with heartache and hurt and loss, know that you're going to want to lash out more around this eclipse, right? So take those things into mind when you're looking at this. I also found it really interesting when I was researching this area and looking at what to talk to you guys about. I looked at a bunch of our high holy pagan days, like our solstices and our like Mabom and different things. And Taurus is really highlighted a lot this year. And I think that's really interesting. And I think that how we relate to our comforts and to those Venetian themes is going to be highlighted for a lot of us And it makes sense, right? A lot of people are redefining things coming out of this plague and this pandemic and the world shutting down. Like, a lot of people are really reworking and relooking at what really is important to them and where they find comfort and what things they need to adjust within their hearth and home and jobs and how they make their money and how they're living in this world. Those themes, it's just always so beautiful when I see how the themes I see in my life and in my friends' lives, how it's supported so much by the astrology and the themes happening out there. And lovies, I'm not even a great astrologer. Like, I just dip my toes in it a little bit, and I depend on really great astrologers. I follow some really good astrologers, and I use their wisdom because it's a beautiful, beautiful, big, lovey topic. And I just have not put the time in to study it. Maybe I will. Maybe that's something I'm going to do when I retire. We talked about the intense energy that these eclipses are going to bring up. And I want to talk to you about how this is not a time for your manifestation work. The power that is happening within these celestial events is bigger than your average square or conjunction. Because it's happening, like I said, to those celestial bodies that we are so emotionally connected to. And I imagine if you're in my little earbud coven, that you're a bit sensitive to these kind of energies. So it's like I think it's like kind of like trying to bring a bolting horse to a dead stop. Like, you might be able to do it successfully without falling off, but chances are it's not going to be pretty. And less effort is needed to just turn the horse's head. Instead of trying to stop a bolting horse, we often just turn their head and get them to loop until they settle their canter. With these wild energies, they're hard to harness. I mean, we can turn them, we can kind of shift our energies if we have a lot of experience and use the building power of the eclipse, maybe to work on something to do with our Venetian healing work or around, our hearth and home. But it's better to work with the energies that are coming up instead of creating and manifesting something totally different out of them. One of the things that I often do if I really feel called to do magical work or spiritual work and there's a huge thing happening around me, I do gratitude work. Or I just observe. I'll do my ritual bath, I'll light my candles, and then I'll just do some journaling, or I'll observe, I'll put out offerings and gratitude and just observe the holiday and just observe the eclipse. Sometimes I'll go out into nature, right? Like, I have gone out late at night to the dike around my place or the rivers or whatever and just observe the beauty of nature and just honored the beautiful place I get to live in, sometimes I'm camping, so I'll just honor the space I get to be nestled in during these beautiful celestial events. If you've never done it before, I highly recommend it. Like, get out of the city, go camping, even if it's just like in the back of your car off an old road. Even if you just drive out there for a couple hours and observe the rhythm of these events away from the hustle and bustle of the city. You can tell I'm a nature-loving pagan who's out in the West Coast, hey? Always dipping my toes in the ocean. Okay, where was I? Let me look at my notes. Yeah. Eclipses, baby. They're beautiful. As always, drop me a line. I'm always loving to hear from you guys. I've been getting some great messages. I've been getting some great feedback. It's always so great to talk to you all. I'm so grateful to have you all in my little earbud coven with me as I walk down this podcasting road. Tell me, I'd love to hear what's coming up for you leading into this eclipse. And then after the eclipse, I'll even post, I'll be active on my Instagram for sure and my TikTok for sure about these eclipses and what's going on for me. So I'd love to hear from you there. Super love it. I'm on Instagram at Sprite Made Soaps. I am on TikTok at witching_half hour ... or so. My YouTube channel is always active. I'm going to be dropping some deck reviews there soon. It's Tarot Talks. It's hard to find because it's a pretty new channel, so the best way to find it is if you go over to my website, which is www.jodiannepsychicmedium.com. If you go over there, I've got YouTube links embedded, and that'll get you to the YouTube. I've got my monthly readings there. I've got the compendiums, of course, for our tarot talks on here. And I've got some deck reviews. I would love to connect with you there. Please like and subscribe on all the socials. It helps us find each other out in the big world web. I will talk to you soon, my lovies, on another witching half hour or so. Because we know, we know at least we oh my gosh, Jodes. What else do I have in here? Okay, yeah. So we talked about the unpredictable energy. Anyway, so